Hi guys, Milne here, welcome back to the channel. So I was asked the other week about making a diner build. Now the video they commented on was a really old build of mine, so I thought what I'd do is I'll make a fresh new one, a nice new outside. The inside's pretty similar to how I done the last one, but the outside just looks so much better. So basically this is it really. And if you're new here and you like what you see, maybe you learned something, I'd really appreciate if you could hit the like button and maybe subscribe for future Fallout 76 content and tutorials. And with all that said, let's get into this. Okay, so like the last build, I'm building right next to Miners Monument, which is a great little car park, nice little space out the back, and yeah, it suits really well because you've got all the cars there and everything. So starting off with some foundations, we're going to be building as close to this back wall as possible, and I'm going to make it 5 long by 2 wide. Right, so the way I've started this out is I've lined it up pretty much in between those 2 cars, and then I've worked everything off of that, as you can see. And when I placed this last one, it was a little bit too close to the car for my liking. I couldn't get a wall in there properly, so I ended up taking that one out and then moving it down to the other end. Now there is some robots that spawn in at that Miners Monument. You don't really get annoyed by them too much, so I won't worry about that. And with this front entrance, I wanted to move this over by half using half a catwalk. But the good thing about using these concrete foundations is if you don't have the catwalks, you can pretty much be able to free place it over by half. If you look, they've got a line on them, makes it a lot easier. Like I said earlier, we're going 5 long by 2 wide plus our entrance area. Then next you can go around and place in a load of doorways. Now with this build we're not going to be doubling up the walls because I'm going to be using some bar pieces and changing it to glass, and you'll see all of that in later in the video. But now that we've got all the walls on, we're going to go ahead and put the roof on. Right, now with the entrance area we need to place in a couple of temporary walls so we can put the roof in, because the entrance that I used doesn't have any walls at all. So we'll go ahead and place in 2 of these corner roofs, and then we're going to snap another 2 to the back of them. Now next you're going to want to flatten this roof so we can put the old burner here, because we're going to need to break these 2 back corner roofs for the entrance area, pure and simply for us to blend the rest of our roofs into them. Now that all that's done, we can go and change the direction to break the tie on these 2 temporary walls and totally remove those. Right, so now this is where the fun begins. We're going to be placing down some bar pieces. If you haven't got these ones, just obviously use whichever ones you do have. As you can see on these ones, I'm getting them right on the edge of this foundation and as tight to the main build as possible. Alright, then we can do exactly the same on this side of it. Right, so at the minute we're just using these bar pieces as markers really, because we're going to be changing them up in a little bit. But I've took out this corner one, and I'm going to use my 3-place post blueprint that I've shown in previous tutorials, and we're just going to stick one on there and one on the other corner as well. Once you've got those in, you can go ahead and remove that bottom one. We can then place back our corner bar piece, and then we're going to want to burn it so we can place the post back through the burned corner. Right, next we're going to place in our bar pieces all along the front of this main part of the build and the sides. Now I've left that one doorway in so I can measure up to it. You want to get it roughly center of that wall like I'm doing here, so these ones will be hanging over. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to burn the entrance area bar pieces so that we can snap the other bar pieces through it. Now I left all this footage in just so you can see how much of a pain in the arse it is to get these nice and straight. Yes, I've sped it up, but be prepared to spend a lot of time getting these straight. But once you're completely happy with how straight they are, then you can carry on and remove the rest of the walls and replace it with bar pieces. And when you get to this last one, you're going to want to move it so it just overhangs the foundation the same as what it's overhanging on the front, just like that, and then you can work your way back towards our main doorway. Next we're going to want to do the same as what we've done in the front along this side, and this can be a little bit more time consuming, because basically what I want to do is when I end up at the front, I want it to be pretty much as close to in that corner as possible. This took quite a while. There's a lot of moving about and trying. You're going to need to burn that corner before you can place that last bar piece in. But you'll see, if you just follow how I'm doing it in the video, then yeah, you're going to curse me, but you'll get there in the end. Right, now finally for that side we can just remove that last wall out and then just work our bar pieces up as far as they go. Now leaving our main doorway in, we can work on this side too. Right, so as you'll see later on when I show the decoration and everything, I've mainly used anything that I could relate to being in a diner as possible. So we've got a lot of Nuka Cola stuff, we've got some Slocum Joe stuff, and we've got the Red Rocket stuff. I know it's a Nuka Cola build, but sometimes you just have to add other bits because we just don't have enough of one particular item to do a whole build out of it. So as you can see, I wasn't lying when this does take a lot of time to upset you. but it will happen, I promise. Yay, you've done it. You've got the hardest part out of the way, so we can get those last pieces in. And now this bit is the long and tedious part. So what we want to do is we want to raise up all of these bar pieces. So standing in one spot, I've placed down a load of bar pieces, snapped them all on, and I've rose them up 14 times on the camp module. I was happy with that, and now you're going to want to do that a million times, and I'll see you in about 6 hours. Right, so when I was raising mine up, it's very easy to lose count or make it too high, so I was going up 13 times, checking, and then dropping it that last time. And I'm keeping one of these as a marker, so I can literally jump them all up to that same one every time. Right, now hopefully you've watched this video before starting this build, and before placing any of those marker bar pieces down, you've made sure that all your floors go the right way, which I never did, stupidly. It's not a problem if you haven't, because as you can see, they can be changed at this point before we go any further with the bar piece. Right, so now that all that's done and I'm happy with everything, I'm going to start repairing all of these. Hopefully you never burnt them. I burnt them because I was checking walls. But then you need to replace each one with our new modified raised up one. And I would suggest don't take them all out at once. Do a little bit at a time. As you can see what I'm doing, I've placed in the ones that go into where the door is, and then I'm working off of them. This takes ages. I'm really sorry. It will look good in the end. Right, so now at this point I'm going to burn these two, because I did originally take the doorway out and snap two in, so that as you can see they go into that doorway like that. Then you can simply go ahead and repair them. Now you'll notice that because obviously I can't just float these bar pieces, I've then had a gap in which I've chose to use this Nuka quantum sign to cover that up, which covers it quite nicely. Then you can go ahead and burn the rest of the front once they're all in, and we're going to start working on this entrance area, doing exactly the same as we've been doing on the front. Don't take too much out at a time, just yeah, take time, because you don't want to lose any of them marker bar pieces, because it just become a nightmare trying to get them all back in again. So you will find yourself having to raise up all these bar pieces like a million times, and still all I can do is apologise for this, but you know, it's what it is, isn't it? Right, so next with this corner, what you're going to want to do is you're going to flatten the roof so you can snap a stair post up above. Then that will be our marker one, so we can then remove these bottom ones. And the same as the straight bar pieces, we need to raise up some of these corner ones using our little template that we've got over here. We can just snap onto the one that's stacked and then snap another one on top of that, raise that up exactly the same as what we've been doing. Right, once you're all happy with them, we can go ahead and snap these back in. Now, I was getting a little bit confused why they wouldn't snap in, and then I realised that it's because of the roof is flat. So just simply change the roof back to the angle again. Then they would snap back in, which I should have seen, but sometimes, you know, you can't see the wood for the trees. But then once you've done that, we can place in these other ones as well to finish off that side. Then you can go ahead and burn your corners and snap in our stair posts again. So now that's in, you can remove those temporary stair posts, and we're going to want to go ahead and break all of the bar pieces ready for when we put the walls in. But before we do that, we're going to break all of the roofs as well, because we're going to be placing a flat roof throughout the whole build. Right, for some reason these just didn't want to snap for me inside the build. I don't know if it was the server playing up or whatever, but if this happens to you, it's not a problem. We're just going to snap a temporary foundation with a wall on the side, and then we'll work from outside the build back in again. Right, once they're all in on the main part of the build, you can just remove all that temporary stuff out of the way, and we're going to use this foundation, place it on here. Now I couldn't put a doorway on the front there because that car was in the way, so it's easy enough, just simply work from the side and then snap in over our entrance area, change the direction of that, delete everything. Next, we're going to be placing our walls back in. Now I found I had to lower this sign because once I put the roof in, it was just sticking up too much, and I also put a sign on the inside of the wall as well, so then that covers up the gaps with the missing bar pieces. Right, so as you can see, I've changed all of the front and side walls into the glass pack, and then on the back walls I've used the responders kit. Then we're going to go ahead and repair everything, and next I've changed the roofs to the responders roofs and on the outside, and then on the inside I've changed them all into the ranch roofs. Okay, and you should be left with something looking rather similar to this. Now that most of the build is done, we're going to start placing on a few finishing touches before we decorate. Right, now obviously I'm going to place a diner door on there, and I'm going to change these walls into the Slocum Joe wallpaper, but of course use whichever one you've got. Right, now heading on inside, you can see that obviously it's not a massive build, but you've still got quite a lot of room to play with. We're going to be setting a counter area, obviously for where we serve all our food and everything, and let's start working on that now. So we've got our template from the outside, and I'm going to jump these up exactly the same, 14 high. so I can match up with that. Then I will make a load of them, and then when we head on inside, I've changed over some of the floors so that they're different texture, so I can get a straight line easier. And the roofs above, I've burnt those, changed them to a slopey one, then burnt them, because obviously these are going to stick up in between. I've placed in also the Slocum Joe's vending machine that matches this set as well. So I bought the bar 4 long off of the glass wall, placed in the vending machine, then placed in another 4, and now I'm going to return this back to the wall to make the entrance area behind the bar. Now my original design for this just didn't work because you couldn't walk behind there whatsoever, which I will show you in a moment, and I ended up changing design altogether. So, you know, depending on how far you set your bar off the back wall determines which sort of design you end up going with. And it's at this point where I realise that it's probably going to be a little bit tight getting down the back of there, but I still go and check it, even though I've already told you I've changed the design. But here we go, can't get through, so let's make the new design. Obviously you can use whichever one suits you best, but this one worked for me. Right, so as you can see, this one works better for me. Now to tackle the gap above the vending machine. Now I originally wanted to be able to stick on these chalkboards, but they just didn't want to snap on anything, and then Vic's come out with the idea of maybe trying to snap it onto the front of the vending machine, which it did work, and then we're going to take that over to the camp module and raise it up so it's the same height, using our marker piece to test this, and then we can go and stick that back in. Right, now bringing that back in the build from the front, that looks beautiful. Obviously it will stick forwards a little bit and there will be a slight gap, but I'm happy with that. It's got up there and it's covered it. Now I'm going to show you how to power that. So if you place a conduit on top of a mat first, we're going to repair this roof, place that down, then we want to connect the vending machine to the conduit, and then if you pick up the mat and then just drop it again, you will then be able to pass the wire through any objects. So we're going to bring this up into the roof, place that down, and then we can just stick a generator next to it to power it up. I'm also going to stick another couple of power conduits down, because then that'll power all the lighting once that's connected to the generator. Now originally I was going to leave this gap, but then I was flicking through my inventory and found that sign that I got off a previous scoreboard, so I'll show you how I put that up there. We're going to jump down under the map, and what I'd done was I dragged everything down, made myself a little platform, placed on some roofs. Now that sign is attached to that cabinet, and then using the camp module you can raise it up from under the map and get it roughly in place. That was the only way that's the only way you can clip that to the wall, because it won't actually snap to those bar pieces. Then you can just simply go ahead and replace all of those back to how they was. I'm currently being attacked by a group of mole rats. You will have a few enemies coming that will spawn in around the camp modules. There's nothing too bad. I think the worst part is you've got a fisher site just up the road, and a couple of times I have had a scorch beast come over here and give me some grief. Right, now I'm going to show you how I've decorated everything, and obviously this part of the build is entirely your design. This is just a quick view on what I have done, and then once we've had a quick look around, I'll show you a few of the different merges that I've done as well. Placing all these Nuka-Cola bottles is quite easy. They're just put down on the chessboard and then merged into the tables. Then we've got a power armor stand in which I burnt the bar pieces and then pushed that back into it as far as possible. With the cap press, all I've done is I've merged down a Deathclaw hand in a tube down to there because I feel like it looked a little bit better. Heading on inside, I've got a couple of bins there because I didn't have any stash boxes, and then I've just literally used chessboards merged down into tables to place down drinks, food items, anything like that. And then it's just a question of going through your inventory, seeing whatever's going to fit and suit the theme of the build. I mean, like those cabinets, whatever they are, display cases, I've never used them before, had them for ages, and this was the ideal build for it. As you can see, I've just got tables and chairs pretty much everywhere with something merged into it. Stuck in a couple of the ceiling fan lights because they sort of suit the thing, and yeah, just go with your imagination. And of course, like every diner, we had to put a roach in somewhere. Never used that before either, and perfect place for it to be, in a diner. Right, so after filming, I did have one more idea, which isn't in any of this, but I ended up placing Yasmin with her cooker at the back there, stuck her in a chef's outfit, just because it just brought another person into the build. And I'll link the showcase to that video in the description just in case any of you haven't seen it. Right, then just jumping up into the loft space, you can see I've placed a generator to power that vending machine, and then we've got some other power conduits down to just help power the lights. You can just literally flatten the roofs above and then just place the power conduits down and then just raise them back up to the slopey boys. This one at the front there was to power up the front sign. Right then, let's go over a couple of these little merges. So as we head on inside, we have got, as I said, just chessboards stuck onto the tables, merged down in this Nuka-Cola machine. I've just got a Nuka-Cola display which you can just place on top, merge that down. You have to use the clean Nuka-Cola machine though, it won't work on the plan that you get from in-game, the rusty looking one. And over here I've just got a Nuka-Cola toy stuck on a chessboard, and then all of that's merged down onto the baseball, which I will show you how to do in just a moment. Then over here we've done exactly the same thing, because of I can't merge anything into these bar pieces because obviously we've modified them to have them up the top. It's just not possible, so this is the only way you can place things on this top, is using this baseball method, which I originally learned from Mr. Church. So for any of you that don't know who Mr. Church is, I will link his channel in the description, and I strongly advise you to go check it out, because he's an absolutely fantastic builder and he comes up with some really good blueprints. So what we're doing is we're just going to place down a chessboard, then we're going to go into our inventory and find the small baseball. You can literally just place it on top, and then when you merge it all down, you want the baseball to end up on top of the chessboard. So then you can literally place all the merged items into foundations, you can place them onto things. It just makes it, I mean, it's a harder technique to merge everything, but once you get it, then you can literally place it anywhere basically. And once again, I've used this method on this table here. As you can see the little baseball sticking out the top of that spoiled meat, and all I've done is I've staggered these two chessboards when I merged them, because if you have them at the same level, then that mouldy food plate will disappear too far in. But like you can see, you can literally place it anywhere, so it's a great way if you don't like doing foundation merges. You can literally just place junk items into the floor, nice and easy. Then over here I've just used the Nuka lights, just merged down onto the table, and everything else is placed on chessboards. Over here again I've used the Nuka display stand, that's just merged on top of that, and this is just the candy machine merged down on top of that cryo freezer. And lastly over here we've just got a coffee machine placed on top of this Nuka fountain machine, which I think is a brewing station. And yeah, that's about it. Right, I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and like I said at the beginning, if you're new here and maybe you've learnt something, I'd really appreciate if you could hit the like button and the subscribe, because it really helps the channel grow and it continues me doing this sort of stuff. And if there's any ideas or any tutorials you want me to do in the future, please just drop it in the comments, and until next time, I'll catch you in the next video.